Todd Grinnell, you play Schneider in the new Netflix version of One Day at a Time, and it's the one character who carries over from the original series, though a very different version of that character.
Yeah.
What were your initial thoughts, when the opportunity first came to play this role? Like, were you feeling pressure? Were you excited? Were you terrified?
Yeah, all those things. Yeah, I was excited and terrified and felt pressure because I watched the original and I know what Pat Harrington Jr. did with the role, and he was iconic. He was Schneider. It was like everybody who grew up in that time knew who he was. So it was a little bit daunting at first. And originally, I just thought, I'm never going to get this. I'm not this guy. There's no way. I know what Schneider is. And then, I spoke to Gloria and Mike and Norman, and they said that we're going a totally different way with it. It's the same construct of the character, but a totally different background and sort of personality. And we came up with this new Schneider. And so it's been great it's a real privilege and an honor to kind of not try to fill Pat's shoes, but, put on a different pair of shoes and kind of walk the same path, I guess, to really extend the metaphor.
So how is this Schneider? This is very much a show of its time. The show in the '70s was very much of its time, and it's been reimagined for this audience. How is your Schneider representative of this time, as opposed to what Harrington did?
Well, this Schneider is a hipster from Echo Park, so I don't know if there's given the beard and the whole outfit, I don't think there's a better representation of this sort of thing that's happening in our culture now. I mean, it's also what's great about him is that he's he's really the perfect foil to this working class Latinx family living in Echo Park, which is great. It's we're able to talk about a lot of different issues and bring them out, and a lot of the things that we're able to talk about are spurred by the fact that he has no clue about any of them. He's learning as much as I think many Americans are about a lot of issues that people of Schneider's demographic didn't really know about before, which is kind of exciting.
And Pat Harrington did pass away a couple of years ago, and you mentioned at one point that you did meet with his family before taking on this role. What was that like, and what kind of discussions did you have?
Well, I actually didn't taking on the role. I got the role, and then immediately his daughter reached out to me over Twitter, I think, and was really cool and really supportive. And then I met his son, her brother, I think halfway through season 1 with his family, and they're just so lovely. And clearly he was an amazing dad. Everything I've heard about him is that he was just an awesome guy, and judging by his kids, an amazing father. And so they were really supportive, and they kind of knew that their dad's this amazing TV icon, and that I was never gonna try to fill his shoes, so they were really supportive and embraced me and are just fans of the new show, and really, really lovely.
So, one of the things that I think is so fascinating about this version of Schneider is that he's very much he seems to really want to belong in this family. What is it about this particular family that you think that Schneider just grabs onto?
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, he absolutely does. And I think, this Schneider came from a very wealthy family, but a very cold and distant and sort of unfriendly family in a lot of ways. I mean, he didn't really have a mom, and his dad is just kind of this stern guy. And so he's never really, I don't think he knows what family is. I don't think he knew really what it was supposed to feel like until he met the Alvarezes. And then all of a sudden he is this incredibly close-knit, warm, loving family that, they go through their problems and their issues and their celebrations and everything. And it's intoxicating to him, because it's something that it's just more color in life and more warmth in life than he's ever seen before. And it's, I think like all of our fans and all the people that watch the show, it's like, you want to be part of this family. They're just warm and fun and friendly and loving, and it's just great, you know? So it's kind of like addictive. You can't not want to be a part of it.
And, you know, this character being so different from the original Schneider in the original series, was there, how much, if anything, did you want to retain from that original character to bring to this role?
Yeah, it's funny, you know, Norman and I talked about that as well with Mike and Gloria as well when we first started. The thing that I think is similar about both of them is that they have this sense of loneliness. There's like a deep loneliness that they both feel, and the thing that brings them together, two Schneiders together, is their need to be a part of these families that they love, you know. And they also operate on sort of their own plane of reality. Both guys are like a little bit eccentric in the sense that they have this false sense of confidence that's not really justified or warranted. They're just, you know, they think a lot of themselves for no particular reason when they really shouldn't be. And so I think that helps create a lot of the comedy. But yeah, other than that, they're very different.
And you know, one of the other different dynamics with this is the fact that, you know, in the original show, particularly in the first couple of seasons, you know, there were this kind of like Schneider hitting on the mother, but you know, you're Schneider and Penelope, played by Justina Machado, you guys have a much different dynamic.
Yeah.
What's it been like to watch that dynamic develop over these two seasons?
It's really one of my favorite things about this show. I mean, for me personally, as an actor, you know, it's just, it's great because traditionally what you would find is that, you know, we're two characters who are the same age and opposite sexes, and you assume that at some point we're going to have a will they, won't they, and some sort of affair, and that it's going to string out or whatever. That's sort of the general path that most shows take. And, you know, Gloria Calderon-Kellett, our showrunner, and I are old friends. She's married, I'm married. Her husband and my wife are friends. We're family friends, but I've known Gloria for, I don't know, 10 or 12 years, and we've worked together on a million things, and we're just super close, like, you know, really close friends, like brother and sister, very much like Schneider and Penelope. And one of the things we talk about is how much we value our friendship. And I've had a lot of female friends in my life, and Gloria's had a lot of male friends where it's strictly platonic, and it's something that's not explored very much on television without adding in some sort of like romantic or sexual component. And we thought, how fun would it be and how cool would it be to explore that relationship on TV, because you don't really see it. And so it allows us to have a much deeper relationship between Penelope and Schneider, rather than just going straight to romance or sex or whatever. And because then once you do that, that's it. You know, that's what that relationship is about. So I really love how that plays out between Penelope and I. And she allows her to confide in me, and we have these really deep, beautiful scenes together that are my favorite part of the show for me.
And that, you know, friendship between the two of them is very comic most of the time, but it does have some serious elements. The one episode where she stopped taking her medication for her depression, and they have some really intense moments there. What was it like playing that aspect of their relationship after, you know, so often it's so light?
It was fun. You know, you don't often get a chance to go to each end of the spectrum, especially, you know, in sitcoms a lot these days. It's, you know, I mean, there's some heartfelt moments, but it's a lot of laughs. But this was, you know, very serious and very dark and very real. And it's a gift. I mean, I'm so grateful for our writer's room and for Gloria and Mike and Norman to sort of create a very three-dimensional character that, you know, with scenes that allow me to do a full range. You know, there's a lot of stuff where Schneider's a clown, you know, and wearing crazy outfits and doing crazy stuff, and I love that part of it. I'm a huge goofball at heart, and so that part of it is super, super fun for me. But then to play the opposite end of the spectrum where we're, dealing with serious issues and it's very, very dramatic. It's my dream, I mean, to get to do that all in one show is an amazing gift for an actor.
And that kind of also feeds into the season finale, where each character has like this big monologue, as Rita Moreno's lying there on the bed. And your monologue was very different from everybody else's in that not only are you delivering this monologue, you're also putting up all of these lights and decorating, and these were practical effects. So,
yes.
So what was it like to rehearse? What was that like to shoot, to rehearse? What went into that whole scene?
Well, first of all, when we read the script at the table read, and that's not true. I cry pretty easily. I'm a new dad. I cry every day, I feel like. But, it takes me a minute to get into things and go to the emotional places that are needed when I'm doing something. But for this episode, for some reason, we were at the table read, and none of us had read a word of it before. And I'm just flipping through, and I read the monologue that they had written for me the first time, which was, I think, originally a page longer. There was a lot more stuff in there. And halfway through it, I could barely get through it. And Rita's on one side of me, and Isabella's on the other side of me, and Rita's rubbing my back, and Isabella's handing me Kleenexes. And I don't know what happened. It was just so beautifully written, and it hit home for me. In so many ways that it really affected me. But then when we got into rehearsing, you add in the practical, the lights and the logistics of dealing with all that. And it, then it becomes very mechanical for a couple of days because you're trying to figure out, okay, during this beat of the monologue, I've got to be putting 2 candles up here and they have to be facing this way. And we got to make sure the things are switched on. Then I've got to plug in this. So it gets a little, herky-jerky in the sense of figuring out the logistics. But by the end of it, then you kind of, when you get that set, then you can sort of get in there and play with the emotional aspect of the scene and everything. But yeah, it was a pain in the ass, guys. I'm not gonna lie. There were points where I was like, because there's a huge duffel bag full of just tons of lights and candles and all this stuff. And I'm like kicking the side of the hospital bed when Rita wasn't in it because I'm frustrated because the lights I put on, we got the monologue perfect. I did it. I'm off book, the whole thing. And then like the lights come crashing down in the last beat. And I was like, God damn it. But it was not easy. And I thank you for recognizing that because a lot of people, it's not the easiest thing to be hanging up lights and dealing with all this like crazy prop work while you're delivering a really heartfelt 2-page monologue. But at the end of the day, I knew that was coming halfway through the season. Told me, this is what we're thinking for this monologue, and you're going to be putting up lights, and it's going to be this whole thing. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. That's such a beautiful idea, and what a beautiful thing, and so perfect for Schneider to be doing for Rita, for Lydia at the end, like really giving her a stage, because he looks up to her, and she is like, this queen mom figure to him. And so it was really just appropriate, I think, for the two of them.
And to be doing all of that in front of a live studio audience, both the comedy and the drama of the show in general. You've worked in multi-camera sitcoms before, and you've done single camera work before. How did the two compare in terms of how you approach the acting?
It's funny. I was just talking about this with somebody. I think the acting you approach the same wherever you are. Whether it's in somebody's living room or on a sound stage or on Broadway or in a film or whatever, it's you put everything you have into it, and it's an incredible amount of focus and all that. But I really do, the best part for me is when the audience comes in. In fact, we're about to start a show in an hour, and outside the green room here, I can hear people walking up the steps, and I'm getting excited hearing it because it is the best. I love, love, love doing multicam sitcoms because of the audience. That's what gives it life. We'll pre-shoot scenes the day before the show because sometimes there are scenes that require technical aspects that we can't film in front of an audience because they just won't be too complicated or whatever. And I don't love that as much as I do the next day when we shoot on Fridays when the audience comes in, because there's a connection between the audience that we feed off of, and it really, I mean, like I said, it gives us life while we're up there. You know, a lot of times there's a joke that we don't even know is going to be funny, and the audience laughs, and then we hold for that laughter, and you hold, you know, you stare at somebody, and then just by virtue of some tiny look that you're giving another character, the audience starts laughing again. I mean, it's like there's a relationship happening, and we're completely connected. And those are the time when it's really working. Those are the times that it's just it's exhilarating. So I hope to be doing multicams for a long time, because that's the preferred method of acting.
So you've just started production on the third season, and you know, the show has given us lots of glimpses into Schneider's backstory, his addiction, and his, shall we say, complicated family relationship. What are you, I'm not sure how much you can say, but what are you most looking forward to exploring with this character this season?
There's a lot. I mean, I can't give away any spoilers for this season, but you know, I'm looking forward to exploring more of his backstory, more of his family, more of you know, his history with drugs and alcohol, but then also the relationships. You know, the relationships we like Isabella, Elena, and I got to have some fun stuff together last season. Marcel and I had some great stuff in season 1, which was really fun. So I'm looking forward to having more scenes with the rest of the cast, and sort of like diving into those relationships and seeing where they go as well. And then of course, you know, I love when just, you know, I have scenes in Schneider's apartment. I don't know if we're gonna have how many more of those we're gonna have, but Hello Penelope is probably my favorite episode of the entire series so far, and I would love to have a little more like that.
Well, we wish you the best of luck on season 3, and congratulations on seasons 1 and 2 of One Day at a Time. And thank you so much for talking with us today.
I really appreciate it. It's so funny. You guys are awesome. The show means a lot. So, you know, anytime. We love talking to you guys and hanging out.
All right, same here.